Hey, good morning, guys. Good morning. Happy New Year to you guys. Happy New Year to you. It is just going to be a great day. and I titled this, What Color is Your Coat? What color is your coat? And I was reminded by a reason I titled that this way was because if you're a dreamer, you might be like a fella I know. Now, let me just give you some background to this fellow. This fellow had 10, at the time, 10 brothers, 10 brothers, older brothers. And his father, he was born to his father's first love. Back in the day, his father had a few wives. Don't shoot the messenger, just a fact. Wasn't a wise guy, but he had a few wives. And to his second wife, Rachel, Rachel bore him a son, and he was born in his old age. I give you an example. My wife was born in old age, for lack of a better term. She was late. She was the surprise. Maybe you can relate. Maybe you can't. Maybe you're the oldest. Maybe you're the youngest. Doesn't matter where you fall. We all have dreams. We all have goals. We all have aspirations. But it was very interesting how this came about for the coat, because the father loved his son and he favored him because this was the kid that I was supposed to have. It's kind of weird, but it was the truth, because his first wife, he basically got from his boss. It was his boss's daughter at the time, and he had to marry his boss's daughter to keep his livelihood, to keep his job. And but he said, "I want your other daughter. I want Rachel." And he said, "No, you can't have Rachel. You got to take Leah." Uh, okay, well, I'll make do, but I'm going to continue working towards my goal. And his goal was Rachel. It was the love of his life. So he made do with what he had. Sorry, ladies, that was the truth. Um, and he went after Rachel, and he worked, and he was faithful, and he worked, and he was faithful, and he was worked, and he was faithful, and she gave him a son. Rachel did. He finally got married to her. Still had Leah. Didn't divorce Leah. The other sons he loved like a father loves sons. But there's something about one kid in the family. For instance, they get the attention. They get and they just seem. I look at the world out there, and there's certain people that, you know, there's a preacher on TV, for instance. I like listening to him, but sometimes when he talks about struggle, come on, guy. Yeah, you don't know too much about what financial struggle is. You don't know what you don't know what run out of gas is. You don't know what applying for food stamps is like. You don't know, when these certain people talk about struggle and have faith in the struggle, they're a crock of crap. But I can tell you from experience, I've been there, done that, bought the t-shirt, got a few still hanging in the closet. So I know what struggle is. In fact, I was just reminded this last week over Christmas holiday of going to spend some time with the family, and we reminisced over the old days, the good old days. The good old days for us was I was raised in a family of 10. I was second to the youngest. And it seems like it was the opposite. My mom tended to favor a couple of my older brothers, and she tended to favor the black sheeps of the family. I was a pretty decent kid, I think. Therefore, I didn't require that much attention. I didn't need her that much. My older brothers needed her. So anyway, to get my point about what color is your coat, when you're dreaming, when you have a dream, This young man had a dream and he told it to his brothers. Now, his brothers didn't like him because of this coat that his dad made, his coat of many colors. Perhaps you know the story. If you don't, you can find it in Genesis chapter 37 through 42. It talks about the life of a young man named Joseph. Now, here's the kicker. Joseph was 17 years old when he had this dream that he told to his brothers. He was about 17 when he got this coat. This coat signified a lot of things, but his coat was a coat of many colors. Perhaps you never were given a coat. Perhaps your coat wasn't like the coat of Joseph's. Perhaps your coat is a tarnished coat. Perhaps your coat is coat that you've carried for years that, you know, it keeps you warm only when you worry. It keeps you warm only when you fret and only when you're down and out, only when you're so it's a coat that you kind of like a cross. Like I used to say, this is the cross I must bear through life. And that's not the truth. So Joseph had this dream. He tells it to his brothers. I mean, starts getting violent, guys. When you think you're down and out, you can always go lower. That's the good news. Um, Joseph was thrown into a pit by his own brothers. His dad told him, "Go check on your brothers." And his brothers threw him into a pit, into a cistern, into a well without water. Threw him down there and then decided to sell him into slavery. Their own flesh and blood they sold into slavery. Imagine that. So wherever you fall in the rank of your family, in the rank of life, consider this. And all through this process that Joseph is going through, there's an interesting phrase that he found favor with God. Like, oh gosh. We hear those terms, I'm blessed and highly favored, and God favors me. Favor isn't free. Favor comes with a price. Favor comes with faith. Favor comes with when I read that and I'm really sunk in that he was highly favored with man and God, and he's sold into slavery and he's put into a pit, and then he's then he's then he is you then he's sold into slavery. He is um I mean, I think somebody got this message wrong uh, on Periscope because I can post to them. I'm talking about people that have a dream, a goal, an aspiration. I guess I forgot. There's that dreamer category. This guy was like red, white, and blue, USA, baby, mega. That's not what this is about. This is about if you have a dream, you have a goal, you have an aspiration that you want to reach. You've got an inspiration that you want to reach. There's some stuff that we need to take heed of. Like when Joseph's brothers heard about his dream, they became indignant. They hated him all the more. Sometimes you got to keep your dreams to yourself. Sometimes you just got to stop broadcasting it, especially to immediate family, because you are going to go through some stuff to get to where you need to be. And there is a price. Count the cost before you set out to build a building. Count the cost. Count the cost, because there's a cost in everything, guys. Don't just say I'm going to do this and not sit down and take an account of what it's going to cost and where it's going to take you and what you're going to have to go through, because you have to be willing to pay the price. You cannot get something for nothing. And Joseph here is hated all the more because of his dream. And his brothers said, let's see what becomes of his dreams now. And they threw him into a pit. And then they sold him into slavery. And all through this, it says, and God's favor was upon Joseph. Now, the dream was that Joseph was to be a governing ruler at 17. Well, then he's thrown into a pit, sold into slavery, and then through the course of a couple of years, he's put in the master's house of Potiphar. Potiphar is the captain of the guard and this is all can be found through Genesis 37 through chapter 42. It's a very good story. It's a story of hope. It's a story of redemption. It's a story of forgiveness. It's a story of pain. It's a story of pleasure. It's a story of triumph. It's a story of tragedy. It's a story of setbacks turning into setups. It's a story of obstacles becoming opportunities. It's a story of stumbling blocks, stumbling blocks becoming stepping stones. It is filled with sensuality, it's filled with emotion, it's filled with pain. In other words, it's life, guys. It's life. And when you have a dream and you set out to do something and you say, man, I've got to have this, I must have this, I will have this, I can do this, I know it's possible, I know that I can, you're setting yourself up, guys, for pain. Now, that doesn't mean we stop. That doesn't mean we don't go forward. That doesn't mean we don't stretch. That doesn't mean that it's over. Because, you might feel like you're down and out today, and then you're thrown into a cistern tomorrow. He's like, my brothers didn't understand the dream. They didn't clap. They didn't applaud me. They didn't put me where I needed to be. It's not yet. It's not yet. You're being tempered. You're being tried. You're being forged in favor. Yeah, forged in favor, guys. Every time I hear the word favor anymore, I'm like, there's fire in favor. There is heat. There is agitation. So don't go into this year blind, guys. Don't go into this next season of your life as if things are just going to work out the way you want them to work out, because you have to be tempered. I don't know why we have to be tempered. I don't know why it just doesn't come for certain of us, but stay the course. Stay the course, because here's the good news. After Joseph had went through all of this stuff, he went through slavery. He was sold into slavery by his own brothers, thrown into a pit, beaten by his own brothers, then thrown into a pit. His coat was ripped off of him. So what kind of color is your coat? What color is your coat? Did you get the coat of the older brothers? Are you jealous of others? Are you envious of others? Are you thankful for others that they receive blessing in their life? Because I'll tell you, this is a difficult one for me. This was a difficult one for me to understand about my mother and my mother-in-law, and my father-in-law. And the years these guys were faithful to the Lord. They were faithful to the Lord. They had spent their lives on earth giving to others, bringing homeless into their house, and didn't have a pot to pee in when they were dead. I mean, they had no money, no hair, no teeth. Other than Irene, she had hair. My mom had hair, but they had nothing. They lived a life of sacrifice and giving, but yet they had nothing to show for it. My mama never even owned a home. She was a wandering soul. And to me, I think, why, God? Why? Why do you take certain ones through and then you put others that are on international television, and they sometimes will tell us to have faith in the struggle, and they've had too many real struggles of the common man. Now, I'm not saying they've not had any health challenges or had any family members get sick, but typically they talk about miracle after miracle after miracle, and you're sitting there watching them and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't have that miracle after miracle after miracle. And so are we being forged in the fiery furnace? You're being forged in favor. So as you go into this new year and as you sit down and you start to think about your goals and your aspirations and you've got to think about how dedicated am I? How am I faithful? See, God's not going to put you in because you to make you faithful. He's going to put you in because you are faithful. And faithfulness is determined sometimes, and I don't understand why he puts some in like they get granted privilege because their dad was a pastor or their dad was a minister before them. And they get privilege because of their father. Well, you're privileged because of your father. Your father is the creator of the universe. He knows exactly what he's doing. He is forming you. He is fashioning you. He is working out something on the inside of you. So continue to work out your completeness with fear and trembling. Because I'll tell you this, in an instant, Pharaoh has a dream. I won't take you through the whole story. Read it from Genesis chapter 37 to Genesis chapter 42. An amazing story, because if you picked up Genesis chapter 42 and you never knew Joseph's life beforehand, you'd think this guy was a lucky SOB. You wouldn't say you wouldn't say anything different. You'd be like, oh gosh, he's so lucky. Sometimes we look at others, we don't really know what color their coat was prior to becoming who they are today. We don't know really what they went through. We don't know what type of childhood. We don't know what type of home. We see them for who they are in the 20 minutes of fame. Like right now, you see me on a video, but you don't know me. You don't know the sacrifices I've paid and that I'm still going through and I'm still wrestling with. And you don't know anything about me. A lot of times we use the terms in sales, well, when they know you and trust you. Those two things I don't agree with, because you can't know or trust anybody sometimes after 20 years. But if I like you, that's the difference. So be likable. Be likable. Because we don't know where people have been. So, the end of the story, Pharaoh has a dream. Through all this process, Joseph is thrown into a pit. He's sold into slavery. He's falsely accused of rape. He goes into prison. He's forgotten in prison. And now he's sitting there. Oh, 2 years prior, Joseph interprets a dream of a cupbearer and a baker that are in prison because of something they did unto Pharaoh. And he interprets their dream. Well, the guy says, the cupbearer says, oh, as soon as I get back to my place, I'll get you out of here. Now, a lot of times we're in a hurry to get out. And we're just to stay in at that time. We're in a hurry. Don't be in a hurry. Don't hurry this thing up. Don't be in a hurry. Now, it's okay to have a deadline. It's okay to have goals. It's okay to have, I'm going to do this then, but don't be in a hurry. Don't let the process in that time frame work itself out in you. Because if Joseph would have been pleaded and he would have begged and he would have sent letters of entreatment and he would have sent letters to the cupbearer every day, and the cupbearer finally says, okay, this guy's driving me nuts, I'm going to get him out of here, Joseph would not have had his day before Pharaoh. So just because it looks like it's going backwards does not mean it's going backwards, guys. It means you're being forged in favor. It means that you are being disciplined and you're being chiseled and you're being carved and you're being set up for greatness. That's what it means, guys. That's what it means. And so many times we look at the situation, we look at the circumstance. George Bernard Shaw said, I don't believe in circumstances. The person who gets on in this world is the person who finds the circumstance that he wants. And if he can't find it, he creates it. Now, that should have got an amen. I don't believe in circumstances. The person who gets on in this world is the person who finds his circumstance that he wants. And if he can't find it, he creates it. So as you go into this new year, remember that when Pharaoh had a dream, he called for Joseph Joseph interprets his dream in chapter 42, or around 41, somewhere in there. Joseph interprets the dream of Pharaoh. And Pharaoh says, "Never before have I seen in someone the spirit of the gods that rests in thee. I am going to make you second only to me." And it was as if Joseph went from the prison to the palace. He went from poverty to priesthood. He went from he didn't. It wasn't like he was halfway there. He was at the frickin' bottom. He was sucking scum from the bottom of the rock. That's how far down Joseph went. And he was brought from that place all the way up to the top, the pinnacle of the palace. He was at the pinnacle of power, second only to Pharaoh. Sudden success, as if, in an instant. In an instant. So God can take you from where you are to where you need to be in an instant. Hang on to your faith, hold the vision, stay the course, focus on the true north, and let the process through all this stuff work itself out on you. For it is God, infinite intelligence, working on the inside of you, both to will and to do according to his good pleasure. If God put this desire in your heart, you can do it. So I say Happy New Year, but it's only happy when you choose to be happy, when you choose in the midst of hell, in the midst of poverty, in the midst of dire circumstances, in the midst of difficulty, in the midst of not knowing where, what, when, and how. If you're there, you're in a good spot. You're in a good spot. It's not it's not as bad as you think it is. It's actually a basement here in Iowa is a safe place. So if it's dark and you can't see your way, you just might be under the shadow of the Almighty. And if you're under the shadow of the Almighty, you might not be able to see clear. You might not be able to see your way, but you're in a safe place. So remember that this year. As you go into this next year, keep your dream alive. Pour gasoline on your dream. Never give up. Joseph didn't forget those dreams. He was a prince of Egypt at 17. In here. He had to be one out here. He had to have the character. He had to go through what he had to go through to be what he was. So keep that in mind as you go through the day. And I wish you all a blessed, happy new year as you watch this again. Share this with your friends. I believe it's a powerful message. Take care, guys.